Mm-hmm. Story of my life. An hour ago I couldn't talk. Peace. Well, it was a long night. I'm out of the hospital now. Um, Today I start the last of the E-rail system, which is like a safety rail thingy we gotta go through for BNSF. Railway part of the deal. I did the safety videos for PTI yesterday, or the day before, can't remember. And then now I'm doing the E-rail thing tonight when the office for Evansville, Indiana for PTI opens up at 9, which will be 7 o'clock today. Right now it's like 5, so I'm just sitting here waiting. Since it was overnight anyway. And then they gave me a steroid at the hospital and inhalers, and then I was supposed to get antibiotics because I came down with a common cold that could turn into pneumonia if I don't get antibiotics. But it was not COVID. And for a second it almost shut the branch down for PTI in Mouse City because of the potential threat of having COVID, so we all had to go get tested. Came back negative, no COVID, common cold. I'm going to do the E-rail stuff tonight, or today, this morning, I should say, and then maybe a road test tonight or a road test tomorrow, but that's dependent on whether or not my sub-branch manager, because they fired the last branch manager they had, it's dependent on whether he wants to come and risk getting a common cold or not to do my road test. And they also have Travis, the guy who I'm living with, and my friend who convinced me to come back to work with BTI. He may also have him do the road test since we're already living together and there's no risk there of taking a common cold to a new person since they've only lived there. I found a couple opportunities for an apartment, and I've decided at least 6 months to a year, maybe 2 years, who knows what. I'm going to come off the road and live in an apartment and run on call for PTI, because PTI pays this new guaranteed pay from BNSF, where as long as you are available and accept the trips that come your way within the hours of service that you can do, you get $150 a day for being on call. Some days you get no trips, some days you get 2 or 3 little trips, some days you get a long trip to Great Falls, which would be like 10 hours. It all just depends on what the railroad needs. A lot of it is just picking up the railroad off the spur line that we're on and bring them down to Laurel to drop them off at the main one where they go home from. Or there's the QN rock mine or whatever coal mine thingy that's out that way that they go to, or you can take them up into Hettinger, North Dakota, which that alone is like a 7 or 8 hour trip, so forget. Done that a lot for them last time around when I worked for PTI. This isn't the first time I've worked for PTI, and I liked the job and everything for PTI last time. I just didn't like the fact that they didn't pay very well last time. Now that they are paying what I would consider a livable wage for someone that's more than just a retiree that's looking for something to do, now that they're actually paying to have full-time people on call, I think it's worth it to come back here. And I came back here and jumped on it while I had the shifts open to do it. Well, they had the shifts open to do it, I should say, because if that guarantee closes up and they get these, I think it's 6 drivers that they need on guaranteed pay, reliable, everyday drivers, then those shifts are not going to open up for a long time until somebody moves on, because there's only those 6 shifts. So I fill a position of a different coworker that they ended up firing this last week, because she had a bunch of write-ups that the former branch manager that they fired the month or the week before that didn't write her up for. And the new, I wouldn't say new boss, but he's like the statewide or region-wide boss. He's covering as branch manager for the moment. And they're deciding if they're going to put another branch manager here or not. Most likely not. And he's trying to push for the Laurel branch manager, who's also having problems right now. If they can replace that Laurel branch manager, and then they would be in control of Laurel and Mouse City, of course. Or the other option is to put us assigned to Glendive, which has a branch manager there, but everybody thinks she's like a nasty woman or something. I've never met her. But I've heard all sorts of bad things, so I don't know if I'd want that as a branch manager. But anyway, we were in limbo on branch manager to see what happens. But for the moment, and probably for the summer, we are stuck with Jeff, who is actually a pretty good guy. I worked with him my first week when I was training was when he started training. And since then, he's moved up the company to the regional manager. And now he's my direct boss at the moment. And I think he's a pretty good guy to have as a direct boss. He has his stuff together on it in terms of management material. So all in all, I think this is going pretty good. I'm looking at a studio apartment, or I'm looking at a 2-bedroom apartment. I have a friend of mine that's in Billings. She might move up here for a 2-bedroom apartment to get away from Billings, and I've lived with her before, so that's a possibility. Or there's a nice studio apartment that's conveniently located a block off of downtown, which for a person on foot, that would be great. I'd be half a mile from the work vans, and about a block from a couple, 2 or 3 bars, across the street from a gas station, across the street from a post office, and then just as I walk downstairs, there'd be a coffee shop right there as you're going downstairs. And I've always wanted to live in an apartment, or that apartment here in Miles City, if that opportunity ever became available, and it happened to come available just yesterday. So that's a possibility. However, it's a studio apartment, which is not quite big enough. And she's really wanting a 2-bedroom. There is a nice 2-bedroom, but it's a little bit out of downtown, which I'm not a huge fan of, and it's a little bit out of the ways in terms of being able to get to PTI in time to take the runs if I'm on call and don't have a vehicle. I can borrow a friend's vehicle, I think, but that's questionary right now because it's being worked on. So there's lots of things up in the air still in my life, but the general idea is I'm going to come back to work for PTI, Professional Transportation Company, hauling the BNSF, the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad train crews, mostly out of the Forsyth Depot out to the trains, or going down to Laurel and picking up MRL, which is Montana Railroad Link train crews, and BNSF down there, and hauling them across the state to Great Falls. Or else I just haul them from Forsyth to anywhere along the spur line, which is basically us on either direction. Or I go up take them clear out to Hettinger, North Dakota, or down the Q and walk line. And I can show you some of that, but a lot of the stuff I just signed says that they have a privacy policy against showing too much in-depth stuff, detailed stuff about the company. But I can show locations that we go to, like the sightings and stuff, because that's all public. There's nothing they can do about that, and they don't care on that point. But in terms of showing like anything PTI itself does, or how it runs its fans or anything like that, I'd get in trouble. So there's only certain things I can do. And then on top of that, they're really strict about safety rules. I can't eat. I can only drink if I have a straw, and the crew is okay with it. So basically fountain drinks. Cannot pick up a phone while I'm driving and so on like that. Anything that's distracting driving. And basically the common thing is you drive that car like a grandma, so to speak. Stop at a stop sign and permanently stop at it, and then go again. Which I'm okay with the whole driving thing. And those Ford Expeditions are great to drive in for hours. I like the job, like I said last time. It's just it didn't pay well enough last time. Last time you had to run your ass off 30 hours straight at a time and stuff like that, and try to make money and skip the board and skip the people that other drivers that were coming on board and everything to be able to make money at it. And you were always worried month to month whether or not that's going to be enough income to support renting a place. Now I don't have that problem. The only thing I have to do is apply the regular general rules. I have to have 8 hours rest before I come on the next load board shift. And then I have to be available and take the trips when they call, whether it's a 4-hour trip or 6-hour trip or 10-hour trip or what, as long as it's within my hours to do so, or I have to be available for a split. They call it where I run myself out of hours and then I split with a driver. They take the crew the rest of the way to wherever, but I've offered up to at least do a split. So in exchange for that, we'll get paid $150 a day, whether I go out to work or not. And sometimes they don't call you at all day long, and you get paid $150 a day for nothing. Other times they call you 2 or 3 times during the day for 2 or 3 4-hour shifts taking stuff. That we have a bunch of smaller sightings and around Miles City and Forsyth, and they usually drop them off at the Forsyth Depot. So that's not a big deal, but it turns into a 2-hour or 4-hour trip, give or take. sometimes we assist the railroad when they're breaking down trains and so on. If they have to park a train and leave it overnight, then they have to split it on the crossing so that people can still get back and forth on the crossing. They can't leave the train parked there overnight on the crossing. So I'd have to take the conductor from the engine back to where they're going to split it, and then back to the next crossing where they're going to split it, and then back to the engine if they're going to park it for the night. But they try not to do that. They try to park it for a maximum of 2 hours in between train crews. The trains, they try to run 24/7, but the train crews only have every 4 hours or every 12 hours train driving time, I should say. And then they have like a 10-hour or something time off, and then like a 2-hour commuting thingy that they count for in the vans, something like that. But that's your local crews. And then you have MRL crews who have a different kind of time in setting, because they do a lot of dog catching, which is basically they move trains a little bit here and there, but they spend their whole entire day going between vans and trains, and they switch and go to this train to that train to that train, and they use us as the van drivers to drive them there and position them to where they can get on the train and move the train further up in the depot and stuff like that. And they catch trains up that were basically delayed, because as trains come in and they get delayed, crews run out of hours, and then the trains end up in the sidings that are further and further out of Laurel, Montana. And then to bring these trains into Laurel, Montana to do the switching at night and building the trains at night, we would run them out there to these sidings to pick those trains up and bring them back. And vice versa, if they already built the train in the Laurel yard and they need more space, they push them to the next siding up, and then we follow them out there, take them back, and then they take the next train out. And that's how you do Laurel assist. And I like doing the job. I got burnt out on transporting. And then this one pays its own fuel card. I don't have to pay fuel anymore. I don't have to pay the cost of transportation back anymore. And if everything goes to par, on average, I'm getting paid $16 an hour for when I'm doing the trips with PTI. And then BNSF does guaranteed pay up to $150, the difference. So if I took a 4-hour trip for PTI, it would end up being $60 or $70 worth. BNSF would pay the difference up to $150. So basically, no matter what, I'm getting paid $150 a night to do it, if that makes sense. And then if I don't do it, I'm getting paid just to be available. And I like that idea better, because it averages out right now anyway, while we're slow, that it's about half the time, so some days you'll have 4 trips, or a couple 4-hour trips, some days you'll have nothing. And obviously there's the downside of if we get busier, if they have a train derailment near us, we'll be busy 24/7, just pushing it, because they'll need to move those crews back and forth, the work crews and the train crews. That's, the railroad life for you. But I think it's a pretty decent job. And then I get my apartment downtown, like I'm kind of hoping, or maybe this apartment that's off the thing, that's 2-bedroom, I'm willing to look at it tomorrow and see, but I'm not too thrilled about it, because the 2-bedroom apartment is $800 a month, all utilities including internet, which is nice. But the guy is, I've heard, reputation wise, is not the greatest landlord to rent from. I don't know. And then the downtown apartment is with a regular rental company, and they want a $30 application fee, and then they want to check my credit, which the last 6 years I've been living in cars and stuff, so I don't know how that's gonna go in terms of credit checks for that. Don't know, it's up in the air. I might lose $30 just applying to them. But I like their apartment that's downtown, although it's a smaller size. So lots of things are up in the air. After I do the apartment deposit, I may or may not be able to move into it until August 1st or August 5th is when I get paid. Sometime between the week before August 5th up to August 5th, I'll get paid my escrow from Synergy, which is like $1,741, I think it was. And then at the same time on August 5th, I should get my first real paycheck for PTI with 2 full weeks on it, if things work out the way I want them to. And then middle of August, I should get about $1,000 worth of escrow from Quality, because I'm quitting. Probably gonna mail the plates in today, depending, to quit Quality, and that would put me 2 weeks after Synergy. But I held on to those plates because I wasn't sure how all of this was going to work out, and I needed the backup plan, obviously, with income. So I held on to the plates for now, and then I figured, if nothing else, I pushed the escrow for quality back 2 weeks. So that way I have that $1,700 and PTI's check come in, and then 2 weeks later I have $1,000 to play with, give or take, or to be able to give me enough of a buffer to get through the deposit and the first month's rent. And buying a vehicle, all three of those things are pretty pricey. I'm looking at probably an average of $1,000. Buy a vehicle, and that's if I can find a decent one around that still runs and drives. I don't know if we'll be able to or not. And then I'm looking at either $1,600 for the 2-bedroom, that's $800 a month and $800 deposit, or $450 a month and $450 deposit for the other small studio. So I'm either looking at $2,000 or I'm looking at $2,500 worth of expenses, give or take, and then plus my food and my phone. I'm able to do it with all the money that's coming. It's just gonna be a little tight. And then I also have the PTI paycheck that should be, after taxes, should be around $1,500 if I did all the on-call days and then everything worked out right. That first full paycheck in August 5th. So that's my latest update. I'm just trying to hopefully make sense on the video of where I'm at, and excuse me ahead of time, or I mean, after the fact, I guess, with my voice being kind of iffy, because I have like a sore throat and common cold, and I honestly probably should have done a video a couple days before now, or a couple days after now, but this is when I thought to do it, because of what happened with the hospital last night. It made the light bulb go off my head that I haven't done a video in a while. So for those subscribers who follow me a lot, this video is more for you guys, because I know my voice is gonna tick off at some other people who haven't seen my videos, and other people who have not done or seen my on-face camera videos, which are rare, but they may not like them either, but we'll see. Like and subscribe, leave comments, check the merchandise down below, in the description below, that'll get printed and typed in there, and I'll catch you on the flip. Peace.
Say firework day.
Firework day.